Moni Lashes, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you so much for having me.
I wanted to go way back to begin with. You started playing drums at 5 years old. Did you try any other instruments, or was it always going to be drums?
I did dabble with guitar once my sister started playing guitar. She had her guitar in mum and dad's bedroom next to my drum kit. So drums has always been my first and only real love, but I do dabble on guitar as a result of her having it there for me to access. I think I actually played it more than her when she was first starting out because I was just obsessed with music at that time. I even bought myself a little I think it was an 8-channel Behringer mixing desk thing, and I was always dabbling with electronic stuff, probably a bit of a nerd as a 12 or 13-year-old girl.
Yeah. So once you started getting into the drums, you got a bit older. Who were your drum heroes?
I think the pivotal moment that made me, because I was always playing in school concert bands and jazz band, stage band, and that was great, technique wise and reading chart wise. But the pivotal moment for me to want to actually form my own band was seeing Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. My dad had a VHS of him doing his drum solo in it's like a cage that was rolling around upside down over the crowd. And that was a moment that was like, you know what? I kind of want to do that.
Yeah. So you formed the band The Babes with a brother and a sister. Did you all listen to the same kind of music growing up?
Yeah, we did. Mum and dad were heavily into music. So some of our fondest memories were driving around in our Toyota Corona wagon, listening to the same Beatles cassette over and over again. Or when we progressed into the CD stacker of a car when dad got a work car, he had the same six CDs in there, the American Graffiti soundtrack and things like that. And at the time, kids, you get sick of hearing the same songs, but it was so pivotal for all three of us. We never ever thought we'd all be in a band together. We were all on completely different paths. My brother never even played an instrument. He learnt bass just to be in our band. So, having those influences growing up really made it a very gelling and melting pot for us when we finally started the actual formal band itself.
Yeah. So whose decision was it to form a band?
It was my sister and I. So Donna is my younger sister, and she's the guitarist of our band. And I'd been playing in another band years beforehand, a glam punk band we were. And I had left that band and was really missing playing on stages instead of just at home alongside DVDs. But my sister and I had gone to watch the Runaways movie. At Marion Cinemas here in Adelaide, and we walked out of there and we looked at each other and we said, we absolutely could do something like that. We have the same influences, the same attitude. And so we went out to a heavy metal bar that night and we pinky promised each other that we'd actually do it and not just be full of crap. And yeah, we put out flyers, auditioned bass players and singers. We've had a different lineup for the band in the early years, and the current lineup we've got is the one that will stay forever. It's just been cemented for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah. And you actually got to support Sheree Curry from the Runaways when she came out. That must have
Absolute full.
been a bit of a trip for you.
It was a full circle moment for sure, and it was amazing because we weren't let down either. You know how sometimes when you meet people that you've idolized, it can be very polarizing experiences for people, but she was absolutely so down to earth, and it really locked us in as lifelong fans for the rest of my life anyway. But it was amazing to open up for her gig in our hometown.
Yeah. You got to support some other great acts too. Sebastian Bach, Ace Frehley, Girls School, Iron Maidens, LA Guns. Any of those stand out to you as being particularly memorable?
They have all been, now that you rattle them off like that, it makes it seem like it was actually quite a big deal. Each one of those was a big deal for all of us for different reasons. The Ace Frehley one was absolutely completely iconic for us because growing up, Kiss was my sister, my brother, and my favorite all-time band. So being able to have some kind of interaction and perform on the same stage as him was really great for us. And I had a kind of cool little moment myself, which I'll never forget. So I had just finished doing a world record, and we were loading in our equipment, you know, opening band, get in early, get your stuff out of the way and be quiet kind of thing. And we're hiding in the corner, and Richie Scarlett, who was Ace's lead guitarist, walks in, busts open the doors at the Governor Hindmarsh here in Adelaide and says, "Where's Moni Lashes?" And I'm sitting sheepishly in the corner like, firstly, what have I done? And secondly, how does he even know my name? It turns out he'd seen my world record and wanted to chat to me. So he's like, "Come have a cigarette with me." And I don't smoke, but I sure as hell went out for a cigarette.
Yeah, you mentioned the world record for non-stop drumming, 24 hours. You did that for in 2016 to raise funds so you could send your dad to Russia, I think, for treatment for MS. First of all, how is he? And secondly, what are the memories of that day?
He's doing really well, thank you. So he went to Russia because he had a very rare form of multiple sclerosis that there was no treatment available in Australia. So he's had the treatment about, oh gosh, it would be 8 years ago now, and he is walking. He's got his functioning left side of his body again. He's even playing drums. So I've got his drum kit is set up in there. He's ready to have a jam with his band next couple of weeks. So yeah, he absolutely is so grateful for everyone helping out with that, and we are so thankful for everyone who supported our family. That day where I did the world record, basically the most standout moments for me were when it finally ended because I could not wait for it to end. But yeah, my mum and dad and my brother and sister and my family, they all stayed the entire 24 hours. As it was an outdoor event in the middle of Adelaide City, we got a few weird characters coming through about 2:30 a.m. So I was glad that I had them there to support me. And I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done that record if it didn't had to be done. You know, like we were running out of time and options, and I didn't have much to offer in terms of, you know, money and pull. So I figured if I saw someone doing a 24-hour drumathon, you know, I'd throw them a couple of dollars in Rundle Mall, and it helped. You know, it helped contribute to getting Dad there. So it was worth every second of it to me.
Yeah. Another band highlight, you performed for the Australian troops in Iraq in 2019. What was that like? What sort of a stage did they set up for you?
That was an absolutely incredible and eye-opening experience for our band. Yeah, we were so fortunate that the Defence Force approached us and offered us this gig. At first, we didn't believe it was true. You know, you get a few scam gig offers here or there, but it was legit, and we had to have training, medical training. You know, for frontline, you know, injuries. If something happened to our security detail, we'd be the only ones left to help assist them. So we had to know. So we took it real serious, and yeah, we got deployed to first to Dubai to perform for the troops. That there are some Australian and American troops in Dubai. The stage there was epic because it was an actual hangar, so this like ginormous airplane hangar. And I just remember doing the sound check, and my bass drum, that first time that I hit it, it like made my heart palpitate. It was so good. It was so loud and so boomy. And then we got flown. It was during the conflict times of when we had troops still in Iraq. So we were actually meant to go to Afghanistan as well, but there was a bit too much tension and political unrest, so we couldn't go all the way to Afghanistan. We ended up going to Iraq, and we played two outdoor shows there to the troops, nighttime gigs, which were two of our most memorable ever band moments. You know, we had to wear body armor because you just never knew if you were going to get rocket launched, and we had to wear helmets anytime we're going to the bathroom at night, and it was a completely unbelievable experience. But we got to meet so many frontline troops and, you know, just general people who were giving up their time, their families to be there. And it just gave us a whole different perspective on what they do there, and a whole different appreciation for anyone in the Defence Force.
Yeah. And recently you received some kind of an honor. You came to Government House here in Melbourne.
Yeah, as a result of that deployment, we were invited by the governor to attend over in Melbourne last month, and they threw a very fancy shindig at Governor House or Government House, and we got a tour. We got to meet the governor herself, and yeah, it was an incredible experience. We had to dress up nicely for a band like us, usually wearing denim and leather, but we dolled up all right, and it was great. We got to meet a few servicemen who were there. So yeah, we were very privileged to be there that night.
Yeah. The videos that you create for your social media are very engaging. They feature a lot of pop culture references like The Simpsons. Have you always been interested in movies and video clips?
I think, yeah, I think subconsciously I've just always thought that, you know, interpolating different things is engaging to people for me anyway. And maybe that's growing up with watching The Simpsons and to a little lesser extent, you know, Seinfeld and just shows like that where you don't have to necessarily stick to one genre. I've always been interested in how things are made, whether it's like a car or, you know, sound engineering or video production. So our band, we're a very do-it-yourself band. So all of our videos, even the band's video clips that were, you know, shown on MTV, we made them ourselves, we produced them ourselves. So it's just something that we like to do. And if we don't know how to do something, we'll just try and learn how to do it so that we keep everything in-house.
Yeah. More recently, you've received more attention for your drum clinics than the band. You've presented drum clinics in USA and Japan. How did they come about?
Um, we because our band is currently writing and really recording our new album, it's given me a bit of time to actually focus on my drum clinic side of things. So I've been very fortunate to have something that still takes me overseas for these exciting trips. But I was approached by the Kansai Music Conference in Osaka in Japan to be their featured headline artist. So of course I wanted to jump at that, but at the same time I didn't want to go all the way to Japan just for one night. So I put the word out, and some music colleges over in Japan were very interested in having me. So next thing I know, I've got a 14-day complete booked drum clinic tour of Japan. And I really crammed in as much as I could for that and made the absolute most out of every second because I just love Japan. And our band's performed there 2 tours now, and we're back there again.
And I believe there was a club that named a cocktail after you.
Yeah, as a result of my world record achievement, the Hard Rock Cafe in Japan in Osaka named a drink after me, which was a massive, crazy night for our band because we actually performed there that same night. We had a double headline set, and they called it the Moni Lashes Mean Margarita. So that was, yeah, crazy seeing my face on like posters and ordering, you know, my own drink. But yeah, it was a once in a lifetime thing, and I just, yeah, I sometimes I forget these things. Now you bring it up, I forgot about that.
Speaking of seeing your face on posters, I saw a photo of you up in Times Square during the American tour. That must have been pretty insane.
Yeah, that was a trip. That was I'd never been to New York before at all, and I was fortunate to get a little trip out to the US late last year and managed to turn that into a drum clinic as well. But yeah, I got word that they were going to promote it, my main New York drum clinic in Times Square. I thought it was going to be, you know, maybe a poster on the wall or some pincy little digital LED thing. And then when I saw it, I was like, I just couldn't believe it was like a legit big Times Square with my big old mug up there. So yeah, I got a couple of funny photos and videos, um, and people around that were looking at my friend take the video of me could see my face up there and my face in real life. So yeah, it was a really once in a lifetime experience. But yeah, America's just a whole different planet. Again, you know, it's a whole different experience in itself.
Yeah. Part of the ability to get to Japan and USA is the fact that you're endorsed by some brands. pearl drums, Evans heads, Promax sticks, and Paiste cymbals. Tell me about your current kit.
Oh, my current kit is an absolute beast. So I've been a Pell girl since I was 5 years old. I had to wait 8 years playing on a practice pad until I proved to mum and dad that I was dedicated to drums. And then I got a Pell kit, and that was a Pell export kit. And I still have that kit to this day. And when I eventually was lucky enough to get signed by Pell, they said, any drum kit you want. And I did my research and I looked through them, and I got the Pell Export kit, the EXX kit, because it had the exact sizing that I wanted of kit, because I've got an actual, like, all my drums are Canon sizes. They're unbelievable until you see them in person. And I got it in the finish I wanted, which is a mirror chrome finish. So it's a one of a kind drum kit, and Pell is the only brand that can make that happen for me.
Yeah. How important is the type of drumstick that you use?
It's incredibly important. So I used a brand up until I was a teenager that got discontinued. So I grew up my whole life using a certain type of stick, and it just was deleted. So I searched every brand, high and low, thickness, wood tip, nylon tip, and Promark, the sticks that I use, are the only sticks that do the job for me. So the 747s are Hickory, made in Texas, and they are absolutely unbeatable.
Yeah. And what about cymbals? What do you like from your cymbals?
So I've always used Paiste. My dad used Paiste, so my dad's a drummer. He was a commercial rock band drummer in the 80s, and I take a lot of inspiration from the equipment he used. He didn't use Pell. He wasn't lucky enough to have a Pell, but he had Paiste cymbals. And the first kit that I got, he really was, adamant. There's like, you got to get Paiste. Let's get some Paiste. And so I've had Paiste forever. I've just added a China to it. I'm not endorsed by Paiste, but I'm going to use them to the day I die.
Yeah. The Babes is a heavy rock band. Would you say your musical tastes have broadened as you've got older, and has that filtered into your playing as well?
Absolutely. And I would never have expected it, but over time you broaden your horizons, and it's crazy to look back and reflect. We also have adapted more of each other's styles as it's going to happen over time. You're touring together, you're spending a lot of time together, and especially because we're a road dog band, we drive pretty much everywhere we can. Especially in the US, we drove that entire tour. It was 31 days of, I don't even know how many kilometers we ended up driving, but we were obviously listening to music and taking it in turns on what we were listening to. So that US trip was basically where we wrote this new album. So it's very heavily inspired by whatever we're all listening to and adapting to. Also, just the current climate has kind of shifted to not so much country, but there's a lot more southern influence of music coming from, the Texas region of America. And I think that's kind of infiltrated into our music as well in this new album that we're writing. It's we've always been quite commercially, hard rock, but there's some twang in there.
Have you given yourselves a deadline?
No, and that's definitely something that in retrospect we needed to do, because I built this studio with the pandemic occurring and thinking, well, we don't know how long this is going to last. We're not touring anymore. We can't go anywhere. So we might as well knuckle down and do our album. The album is basically done. It's just the finishing touches. And in retrospect, when we have our previous album, we recorded in a different studio with deadlines and timelines and cost factor. And we were very proud of what we produced. But we thought if we had even more time, or, that no deadline, you can get it done in your own time, we'd be even happier with what we could produce. It's always going to have its pros and cons, and we're learning that. And so, this record's almost getting there. When we do the next one, we will definitely be more stringent with our deadlining for ourselves.
Yeah. So do you use the studio for other artists as well?
I do. I've had a few up and coming young soloists come in with their own original songs, which I really like. It's like a passion of mine actually. I love hearing a new song that no one else has heard before and just seeing the wholesomeness of the person performing it. And there's nothing quite like it. And I'm trying to, completely encapsulate that in the first recording. I want to, if I could bottle it up and just sell that, you'd have a gold mine.
Yeah. So you're working on the album for the rest of this year. What else is happening? Do you have some gigs? Have you got some clinics? What's happening?
So band wise, as soon as the album is done, we will be full steam ahead back into touring, and we'll have an album launch in Adelaide. We haven't played a hometown show in, it's got to be 4 or 5 years. We straight after our last Adelaide show, we were on tour in Iraq, Japan, and everywhere else on the planet apart from hometown shows. So we cannot wait to play here to our rock and roll gang here in Adelaide. Japan wants us back. Hopefully we'll be back there. Just before the pandemic, we had a whole lot of momentum, to be honest. Like, we had just finished our second Japanese headlining tour there. We had interest from German and UK event bookers, so we could have gone on the festival scene there, but it just wasn't meant to be at that time. So now that the product's almost in our hands, it's almost full steam ahead back into it again. The slog begins.
Yeah. Well, Moni Lashes, it's been great to chat, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much for giving me the time of this.